2017 was a pretty phenomenal year for gaming. There were so many amazing games that came out this year, and we wanted to find out which game you guys felt was the best. So the votes have come in. We now have a clear winner for this community's favorite game of 2017, but before we get into that, first we'd like to describe what our personal favorite games were of 2017. So let's turn it over to Kaysen and have him tell you about his favorite game.
There have been a lot of really good games come out this year, so it was really difficult for me to kind of, go in and decide which one was the best, single game for the whole year. I can tell you the game I played most this year would be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I've logged probably close to 200 hours in that game. I'd have to go with Breath of the Wild for my game of the year. I feel like it did a phenomenal job. It accomplished what it set out to accomplish and more. And it really went above and beyond what I expect a video game to provide. So it was fun to play. I mean, there isn't much more to say about it than that. The other games that came out this year, I played Mario Odyssey, played Persona 5. I played a lot of wonderful games this year, and they're all so good, and they offered me so much, but nothing quite gave me the enjoyment that I got out of a video game more than Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild is a game I got to know very well over the entire course of the year, and I'm still not done. From its Ghibli-inspired art direction and animation, the tone of wonder struck through its fantastically subtle sound design, and the days I've spent experimenting with its many overlapping systems, Breath of the Wild is a game that continues to captivate my imagination. Few games in my life have given me this many hours of fun and exploration. For these reasons, and so many more, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of 2017.
Hellblade is a game that took me completely by surprise. I wasn't even completely aware of it until a week or so before its release, and when I looked into it a little more, I knew that this was the kind of game that was made for me. I've never seen a game that explores a psychological condition like psychosis with this kind of care and attention, and in such a way that weaves it artfully into a story that makes you think on a deep level about loss and suffering and the natural urge for denial that comes with that. Then delivers a powerful message of acceptance and peace that comes with letting go of the things we really can't control. All of this is presented within the purview of Celtic and Viking mythology, which is always fascinating, and probably the last place I would expect to see these kinds of themes as the driving force of a game's vision. The combat, while simple, is a lot of fun to master and includes some really cool boss fights. The puzzles also can be a pretty wicked mind bend at first, but personally, I was blown away by how Ninja Theory went about recording the voices that Senua hears. They recommend that you play the game with headphones, and for good reason, because while I was playing, I actually felt like I had people swimming in my head speaking to me. It was an experience completely unlike any I've ever had, and for that reason, it is easily my game of the year. But let's take a look at what you guys voted for as the community's favorite games of the year. And let's start with gameplay. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was 2017's winner in this category, closely followed by Persona 5 and Nier Automata. What I think Breath of the Wild does best is that it gives you such incredible freedom in navigation. There are tons of open world games out there. It seems like every game is open world these days. But whether for narrative purposes or otherwise, there always seem to be limits on where you can actually go in many of these games. I always find it funny that there are these specific ridges that are highlighted, and only in those directions that the developer has given you can you climb to a higher place. Breath of the Wild lets you climb just about any surface on the world map, and once you get to the top, it provides a really quick way down with the paraglider. This allows the player to truly blaze his or her own trail in such a way that I've never personally seen in a big AAA open world like this, and it makes navigation and traversal of the world an absolute blast. I think for that alone, it's well deserving to be selected. Alright, next up we have Best Story, and this one wasn't quite as close. Nier Automata was the clear winner, followed up by Persona 5 and Horizon Zero Dawn. Nier is a series with an impressive, poignant sense of style that really knows how to move its audience. That style isn't limited to visuals. In fact, I feel it's even more apparent in its narrative structure and execution. Nier Automata really delivered on that unique sense of style that Yoko Taro has become known for, and was successful in connecting a human audience with a cast full of androids and robots, something that I imagine is quite difficult to achieve. I can't really say much without spoiling it, but I can say that if you're looking for a game that breaks the mold and experiments with some non-conventional storytelling, Nier Automata might just be the game you're looking for. Next, we have Best Art Direction, and the clear winner here is Persona 5, followed by Cuphead and Breath of the Wild. One look at Persona 5 makes it clear that this game is absolutely doused in style. From the title screen to character and menu design, and especially transitions and animation, it is clearly one of the coolest and most stylish games I've ever seen. It's really interesting to me that the lead art director for the game was Masayoshi Suto, whose notable work previously had been in user interface displays. I see a strong correlation here where much of Persona 5's wow factor when it comes to the art direction comes directly from the UI displays in menus and in battle. All of this, coupled with an extremely accurate visual portrayal of city life in Tokyo, makes Persona 5 not only one of the best looking games of the year, but also one of the best looking games ever made. The last of our categories is Best Music, and once again we have a clear winner in Nier Automata, followed by Persona 5 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's almost like this channel is focused on JRPGs. Composer Keiichi Akabe returned once again, and brought with him his excellent sense for beautiful melancholy, but decided here to shift his focus onto more mechanical and brutal undertones that create just this absolutely perfect atmosphere for the game's world and narrative. Emmy Evans, who has one of the most beautiful and recognizable voices I've ever heard, returned to provide vocals for Automata, and her voice literally melts and weaves into the music with such ease and fluidity that it begins to feel like her voice was crafted for these games. In my opinion, she provides a flawless icing on top of what is already powerful and gripping music. The game's title track, Weight of the World, has a few different versions, one of which was sung by newcomer Janique Nicole, but it's the Japanese version that I found the most impactful. It was sung by Marina Kawano, and you can just hear the emotion in her voice as she breaks down in a couple of sections, which I think best encapsulates the emotion this game was seeking to draw from the audience. It's brilliant stuff. Alright, now it's time to announce the Dark Pixel community's pick for the best game of 2017, which was decisively Persona 5, followed by a perfect tie between Nier Automata and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. While not surprising to me, I do think it's telling that an extremely focused, deep, and stylish turn-based JRPG is the kind of game that this community is drawn to more than any other, especially in an industry that is dominated in the single-player space by open-world action-adventure games that sprinkle in RPG elements. I think Persona 5's art direction in particular makes turn-based combat look really cool, and I hope that it grabbed the attention of younger players as well as the older veterans like us. Here's to hoping that the success of Persona 5 will open the eyes of other developers and bring this kind of game that many of us grew up with back to some level of prominence in the future. Alright everyone, thank you for your participation in voting in the polls. It was a lot of fun putting this together, and it's always nice to see where you guys stand. 2017 was a phenomenal year with a ton of incredible games, and honestly, I feel like picking the best one in a lot of ways misses the point. I adored Nioh, Horizon Zero Dawn, Mario Odyssey, and so many others, and really wish I had time to play Tales of Berseria, Divinity Original Sin 2, and Mario plus Rabbids. But ultimately, I think it's pretty clear that this year was probably the best for gaming since 2011, and there's some really promising stuff coming this year as well. Here's to the new year and to the new experiences that are awaiting us, and I hope you can join us as we take a look at them in 2018. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you guys again real soon.